Hi friends, I'm Katie Brinkley and you're listening to Rocky Mountain Marketing. With nearly 2 decades helping business owners, consultants, and coaches with their digital marketing, I know that social media can be an incredible tool to grow your business when you know how to do it the right way. And that's what we're going to do today. I teach you how to navigate the world of entrepreneurship and digital marketing, and hopefully you'll grow your business with a few great tips you wouldn't have known otherwise, and maybe even discover a great local business you love. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Today, friends, we are talking all about YouTube. I am so excited for this conversation because it is one of those platforms where it's not social media. So I'm not super, familiar with YouTube, whereas my guest today, Liz Kelly, is. And Liz, my goodness, my friend, the list goes on with all of the appearances that you've made. You have, I want to say, probably over 100 different appearances, ranging from the Today Show to Time Magazine to podcasts and print. And you also teach digital marketing at UCLA, one of their extensions, and you're an autism advocate who loves living near the beach and the mountains. We actually, before I hit record here, we were talking all about the mountains here in Colorado, the beautiful Rockies. But Liz, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk a little YouTube with us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Katie. I'm so happy to be here. And a lot of people do get confused about YouTube. And I was too in the beginning, but you have to be like a sponge. You have to learn as much as you can. And so I'm happy to share my insights today.
Well, you're the best. And Liz, let's just start a little bit back at the beginning of who you are, and kind of what drew you into YouTube before we dive in, because I have a ton of questions about YouTube. And you even have a tip for us on how you were able to get over 1 million views on a couple of videos. So before we dive into that juicy goodness, tell us how you got started into the whole digital marketing world and why you have such a passion for YouTube.
Sure. Well, I think big picture, I just love technology and I love to learn. I started my career in training and development and worked for the first Sprint PCS and a couple other telecom companies in 1995 before everything really took off. So that was on the East Coast. So then I moved to the West Coast and now I'm working for startup.com. And somebody said to me, where's the ideal place you want to work? And I said, I want to work at MySpace. And when MySpace was a big deal. And this recruiter said, great, I'll get you a job at MySpace. And when I started working there, I really did not know a lot about social media, but I knew it was like this hot new thing. And so I went in there like a sponge to learn. And just try to learn as much as I could. And we worked with people like Toyota, University of Phoenix, Paramount Pictures, and promoted their MySpace page, which was custom, and did things like for University of Phoenix, we did a 30-city tour with a singer from One Tree Hill, Kate Vogel, and we had forums and prizes and all kinds of stuff. So I had a great time doing that. But shifting into video, because, then Facebook took over MySpace. We all got laid off in 2008, 2009 with the Great Recession. I studied everything. And at that point, I had always been a PC person. This is very important in my transition to YouTube. And I had a laptop basically crash on me. So my friend said, we're going to Apple and you're getting a Mac. And so I get a Mac and I'm kind of freaked out because I really don't understand it. And he's like, well, for $99, you can go to all these classes at Apple and they'll teach you everything. And one of them was how to do videos on the Mac. So I had iMovie And I went to all the classes, and what I would do would be I'd edit a video to the point where I didn't know how much further to go. Like I was stuck, right? And then I would go into the Apple store and I would say, okay, I'm stuck. How do you do this? And I would take like my 5 questions for the video. So then you fast forward around the same time, I decided to start my own PR company, Goody PR, Goody with a Y. And my first client was in Hawaii, really tough. I had to go to Hawaii. And I started taking pictures and doing videos to promote. They were doing a big event. I was working with Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his wife, Kim Kiyosaki, who wrote a book called Rich Woman. And we were doing this big financial education summit in Honolulu to promote Kim's book and bring women together. And we got over 100 women from 6 countries.
Oh, wow.
And one of the people came from South Africa, and they said, the reason why I'm here is because of that personalized video that you all posted by the host. And that was my idea, because Hawaii is beautiful. And the host, her name was Leanne, I said, just go stand by this cove and say, we want to invite you to Hawaii for this conference. And it was so personable and so beautiful. And so this woman came all the way from South Africa for that.
Yeah. And you know what? There is something to be said about the power of video. We've seen this is the thing. Facebook and YouTube have never gotten along. And when YouTube is still Facebook's arch enemy, and they're slowly working their way again to wanting to be against TikTok as well. But video is so powerful when you have the opportunity to see someone speak and see the passion behind it. It feels like you know, like, and trust them. I met Subi Zimmerman. She's been on the podcast before. And when I met her for the first time, it was like I was seeing an old friend, because she's on Instagram all the time on videos, and I knew what to expect with her. And that's the power of video. But with YouTube, this is where it's a little different than Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's a search engine, and you can find so many answers on YouTube, and you can be the answer to so many people's problems when you know how to use YouTube the right way. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So you recently actually, too, Liz, have just wrote a book. And I know that chapter 2 is all about this whole digital marketing thing. Yeah, that book right there. It's so called, we'll talk about the book in a bit, but let's dive into some of these keywords for video. So actually, I'm going to back up. Let's do a question before that. Why, if people are still like, duh, I'm not super comfortable on video, what do you say to them?
What I would say to anybody who is hesitant to do video, that you just have to jump in and you have to do it. And when I film a video, sometimes I will film it 20 times and I can drive people crazy if they're holding the camera. But the beautiful thing now is that you have tripods and you can set up a camera on Zoom. I've done, videos on Zoom. So you don't have to drive your friends crazy with filming it 20 times. Yeah. and just do it until you like it. And you can edit. And I spent hours editing, but it's great if it's a short video, if you can get it right the first time.
Yeah. And I think that too, with video, we always are looking at ourselves with, under a microscope, where majority of people are not going to be looking at you and being like, oh my goodness, her AirPod fell out in the middle of her talking. We definitely hold ourselves to a higher standard. So I think that one of the biggest hurdles for video is just getting started. And like you said, you can use Zoom. I got a couple ring lights, right over here, where I set them up, I record, and I'll do it a couple times. And that's one of the great things too. You can edit very easily now, whether from your phone or third-party apps. So just get started. Now, we've gotten started with our video. what is the next step for really making sure that the video gets the most eyes on it as possible?
Absolutely. Well, there's the content and then there's the mechanics with the keywords. So for the content, we'll hold that for a minute because obviously you want to have an impactful video that offers great tips. 3 tips is a good thing, but we'll hold that for a minute. But now let's say you have your video, you have it ready. There's a couple really important things that I see so many people skip with the keywords. Keywords are like the magic sauce behind a video because that is how people find you. Because as you said, YouTube is a search engine. It's the second largest search engine behind Google, and YouTube is also owned by Google. So you got to play the keyword game here. So there's a couple places. Number 1, put it in the title of the video, whatever your keyword is. So we'll say your company is Rocky Mountain. Tell me the whole name.
So my company's Next Step Social Communications.
Okay.
But the podcast is Rocky Mountain Marketing.
Okay. We'll say Rocky Mountain Marketing because that's easier for me to say. But anyway, so Rocky Mountain Marketing, you would say, 3 tips from Rocky Mountain Marketing. That would be in the subject line or the title for the video. Then in the body, you want to put Rocky Mountain Marketing in the description. And the description is really important. And it drives me crazy if somebody just writes 1 line for description. You want to write a paragraph and put your link at the bottom because YouTube will cut off the description if you put the link up front because they want the content. They want people to better understand the video, and that will help them determine what video to watch. So put the link at the end of a short paragraph and put your keyword in it. So then the next thing in your description at the very bottom, you want to use 3 hashtags that are keywords, right? So you could say hashtag digital marketing, hashtag YouTube tips, hashtag video tips, right? For this video that we're creating. And what's great about that is then when people are going through YouTube, if they click on one of those hashtags, they'll see all the related videos on that topic. So you're basically cross-marketing by using those hashtags at the bottom of your description. So those would be the top 3 things that your audience is going to see. And then behind the scenes, there's a couple other things you can do. So behind the scenes, when you go to upload the video on YouTube, you can also put in your keywords, and I think they give you up to 500 characters. So I always type out all the keywords that I want to use in like a Word document, and then I copy it in, and it will tell you if you're over the number. And you want to use as many keywords as possible. And what you want to be thinking about is, what is my audience going to be searching for? And it's much better, instead of just saying video, to say video tips, because it's a phrase. And if you just say video, you're competing with everybody else that is writing video. Or you could say top video tips, so think of short phrases when you're putting in your keywords on the back end.
Oh my goodness.
The last tip I'll give you just with these keywords on the mechanics is that a lot of people don't know this, but you can choose a video image. And this is really important for getting views. You can choose the main image so that when people are scrolling through YouTube, they see an image of you smiling versus you frowning, because when we're talking on video, we're not always smiling, and it's really hard to capture that great smile. But you can go back and watch your video and take a screenshot of the moment that you are smiling, right? So then you save that screenshot as a JPEG. And when you save that screenshot, you put in the keyword in the name of the file. So Rocky Mountain Marketing, you would put that in the file name, and then you upload it to YouTube, and then that will show up on Google Images because you tagged it with your keywords.
See, that's a ninja tactic right there, everybody. I mean, huge. That's huge. Showing up in Google Images with your YouTube video. I mean, that's awesome. And I think that's one of the things many people forget is that YouTube is owned by Google. So if you're optimizing all your description and putting in the keywords, it's just like having a blog. I guess that leads me to my next question. Should your keyword selection be similar to the keywords that you're utilizing on your website and in your blogs?
Absolutely. And there are a lot of tools out there that you can use to look up keywords. And so I don't have a lot of recommendations on that, but you could look up SEO tools. Google has one, lots of other ones. There are tips in my book. Now I can't remember. That's embarrassing. But anyway, I think it is about being consistent with the keywords for your branding, but it's also about being creative based on the topic. So, for example, if we switch over to the content part, one of the videos that I got over 1 million views on was a Hunger Games cast video at Comic-Con. And Comic-Con, this is Comic-Con International in San Diego. There's lots of Comic-Cons, but they have something called Hall H, and they put 5,000 to 6,000 people in a room, and then they have a panel up front, right? So I had a press pass, which you would think would get me right up front, but not at Comic-Con. So you still have to try to get a seat, or you're way off to the side. So I got lucky because somebody spent the night outside the whole night to help me get in, and I got a really good seat in the center, right? But I'm still sitting there with a 50 times zoom. That's another thing with video. You have to think about your camera, your microphone, all those things have a lot to do with the quality and if people are watching. So I've got my tripod, I've got the 50 times zoom, and I've got a pretty good seat in the middle, right? But there are 5,000 people in the room shooting the same video. So how am I going to stand out? So it was good quality. The picture was good quality because I had the good camera and the good zoom. But the key was the editing and the keywords that I used, because what they were doing was Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson. I think that's how you say it. So Jennifer and Josh are talking about how Jennifer's nose was running when they had to do these kisses, and they were calling them snot kisses. And it was just hysterical the way they were describing them. And I just sat there and I said, this is video gold. And that's what you want to look for. You want to look for that video gold when you're competing against other people in that kind of scenario. And funny equals money. That's another tip in my book, because this was hysterical when they were talking about these kisses and they were teasing each other. So it was a 45-minute panel, but I made my video 4 minutes and focused on the snot kisses. And so the headline said, Jennifer Lawrence describes snot kisses, something like that. And then I put in the keywords all over the place, everywhere we describe the title, the description, the hashtags, and the back end pieces, the snot kisses. And I believe strongly that that is what made it stand out and made the video go viral.
Wow. And so you talked a little bit about kind of the magic of what makes a successful video for YouTube. So for those who are listening and they say, okay, well, I have a blog, I have social media, I know I want to start incorporating YouTube into my business's strategy. What would be the biggest tip that you, other than the SEO side of things and the keywords, what would be the biggest tip for them as they're starting to create these videos? Is there a magic time length? Is it always starting with, a big clip from the video? Is it, trying to make things more likable or funny? What's your biggest tip for them?
That is a great question. And I think for somebody with a business or a book, I love the idea of how-to videos or tips, because people go to YouTube because they want to know how to do their own whatever, how to do their own public relations, how to bake a cake, or how to solve a problem with their iPhone. That's the other thing. You want to think as a problem solver. So what kind of problem does your business solve for people? So I would think about those types of subjects, and then I would keep the videos short, 2 to 3 minutes. Now, some
Oh,
people say no, people want 15-minute videos, and you can do research on that and figure out what you want to do. You can also do trial and error. For example, try different ones. But I like the videos where you do not sound like you're reading a script. You do not want to do that because people can sense it and they want you to be authentic and it to come from the heart. So the other tip I would give is make sure there's some kind of emotion in it. And emotion is something I talk a lot about with public relations. It's you either want to make them, cheer, cry, scream, jump up and down, inspired to take action, or do something. So it's good to have something that's going to create emotion. It's also good to tell some kind of personal story. It's good to be able to laugh at yourself. You have to think about how is your business different. And another exercise that I like to work with our small business clients on is what are the 5 reasons that people do business with you? And what
yeah.
makes you different? I call them the key selling points. Other people call them unique
Value
UPIs,
proposition.
I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
But if you can come up with those 5 key selling points, then tie your videos to those and think about who is your audience. And that's the other thing. I just posted a video. It's called Top 3 Public Relations Tips. And in the first sentence, I say, if you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, an author, or anybody with a brand to promote, this video is for you. So you can do that too in your video. Whoever your audience is, you can say, if you're looking for this and you're this type of person, I'm here to help you. And don't make it all about you, make it about how you're going to help them.
What's in it for them, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that we talked about before, again, before I hit record here, is that the average length that people watch it, that decide whether or not your video is for them, is 15 seconds. Now, that's a lifetime compared to TikTok and Reels. I mean, you only have, I think, 2 seconds there to hook someone in from scrolling. You have 15 seconds on YouTube. So doing exactly what you just said, hey, if you are a course creator that's looking to, that is how you want to start these videos. I love that. With videos in your YouTube channel, there is no, like you said, there is no magic length. It's what I like to call the miniskirt rule. Short enough to keep things interesting, but long enough to cover everything. You will know how long your video needs to be. So if it only needs to be 2 minutes, then leave it at 2 minutes. As you're creating all these videos, do you think like having a weekly show, a monthly show, we do need to have some sort of consistent posting calendar, right? So that our audience gets used to when they can expect more from us, right?
That is a great point. And yes, if you can get in the habit where you are posting every Tuesday or every Friday, whatever it is, then you basically train your audience that this is when you want to come back and this is when I'm going to have new tips. So that is an excellent point. I also think that you want to come up with a strategy with what are your goals with doing this. Don't just post videos to post videos. Are you trying to promote a new program that you have, or a new book, or a business? And then you always want to either start or end with that. And the other thing that we haven't talked about, which is also really important, is the graphics in the video. A lot of times what I just do, and this goes back to me learning how to do videos at the Apple store, is that iMovie just has a banner at the bottom. They have different banners. Put the person's name in, put the topic, and put the website that you want to direct them to. So that is there the whole time. And then at the end, what I like to do is have a still image that also says, for more information, go to www, whatever your website is. So those are really good cross-marketing tips that I would highly recommend. So think about your goals, do the banners right, and then put an image at the end that points them where you want them to go.
Man, Liz, I feel like we should make this like a part 1 and a part 2, because we've covered so much. And I had no idea that hashtags were a thing on YouTube as well. I mean, this, as much as people want to say that hashtags are dead or that they don't matter, they are a very important part of all of these digital marketing channels in some regard. I had a Matthew from Hashtag Slayer on a few months ago, and he had some great tips on hashtags and how to optimize them, because you need them for every platform. And so be sure to check out that episode as well. Liz, like I said, you have an entire book about digital marketing. We only discussed YouTube today. I also need to bring you back to talk some MySpace. That's where I got my start, was helping bands with their MySpace pages.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's a whole nother conversation that we can have. But until then, talk to us a little bit about your book and where people can find it.
Great. Absolutely. Well, the book is called 8-Second PR. It's the second edition, so get the yellow cover, and it's called New Public Relations Crash Course, because it's focused on how to get on TV, radio, print, and podcast. But chapter 2 is the longest chapter, and that is all about digital marketing. And because of my background working at MySpace and teaching at UCLA Extension, and also I was on the Social Media Club Los Angeles, that's a great resource to join, like a social media club, to expand your knowledge. But anyway, because of that, I added this chapter 2, and it goes through all the digital marketing tips, because if you're going to do anything to promote a brand, you have to have digital marketing now. And everybody who is doing TV or radio or podcasts right now, they're all on digital, and they expect that if you are interviewed, you are going to tweet it out or put it on Instagram or share it on LinkedIn. So if you don't have social media, sometimes they won't even interview you. So I updated the book in 2022 because of podcasts exploding. And there are tips on how to get on 30 podcasts for one book, and lots of other tips that I updated. Instagram with all the video features now, and reels. It's a whole new game than it was 3 years ago when I first put out the first 8-Second PR.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, keeping up with all the Instagram updates these days is a full-time job. But I absolutely love this book. I feel like exactly like what you said. People are searching for you online, and they're doing it for the social proof. They want to learn more about what you have to offer. And honestly, if you're not on these channels, if you're not showing up on digital market online, and have some sort of a digital marketing strategy, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, you have to be somewhere. And when you know how to do it the right way, it doesn't need to be overwhelming. Liz, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. Thank you again so much.
Well, thank you, Katie, and thanks to all the listeners out there. And my personal goal is to magnify your story and magnify good. So I hope I helped you. And please go check out goodypr.com for everything about me, or follow me on social media as Liz H. Kelly, Liz H. Kelly, and I'll follow you back.
Awesome. Well, we will include all the links in the show notes here. So be sure to scroll on down, give Liz a follow, because we only touched the tip of the iceberg with YouTube today. And there's a whole chapter and a whole book to take your business to that next level. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Make sure to subscribe so that you can continue navigating the world of entrepreneurship. And I'd love to hear from you. Please leave the show a review and connect with me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at @IamKatieBrinkley or connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you're ready to start making some sales on social media, be sure to grab my free guide to selling in the DMs without being spammy. You can get that at katiebrinkley.com. Let's keep taking your marketing to all new heights.